Okay, folks, how about getting up from your seats? Let your hands loose, jump, right? Just let the hands hang around and stop, point somewhere with purpose. Sit, sit. That jumping, the hands flailing, that was drift. This was a vector. And that's what we are all about today, the forgotten fifth. But what is the forgotten fifth? Folks, there is no what in forgotten fifth, there is who in forgotten fifth. I am the forgotten fifth. I'm the fifth member in a family of five. My father and his parents, they migrated from Bihar and they came to Gujarat. My grandfather was a lowly ranked police inspector in the railways, pre-independence days. Not much money, five kids to manage, and then he was in Palanpur. He passed away, leaving a family of six, five young kids and a widow. Difficult to make two ends meet. My father was a fan of milk. He didn't have money to buy milk. So what he did, once the family was living in a city called Surat. And in Surat, my father wanted to have milk. The only way he could do was either steal or maybe keep a goat. He befriended a goat. Used to take the goat for grazing, come back every evening, used to milk the goat, and then enjoy the milk. That was my dad. Educated in the Gujarati medium, went to Visnagar, finished his college, and wanted to support the family. Someone said, how about getting into something called the civil services? My father had not heard about it. In the college, that was the first time he had a pair of trousers. So that was my father. He learned English by selling newspapers in the morning. And he never heard about the civil services. Somebody told him, that's what you can do. He looked around, searched how to prepare, studied, entered for the exam, passed with flying colors, was offered whatever you would want from this platter, take. He was a Gujarati. For all practical reasons, he was a Gujarati. And he was fond of animals. He was fond of the Asiatic lion and gyr. He said, I'd like to go for the IFS. He became India's first batch IFS officer. That was my father. He was known as the Lion of Gyr. He was known for his absolute honesty, feared by the poachers, feared by those who wanted to fell trees and sell them, and of course also feared by a few politicians. He used to have none of their antics. He was also loved a lot. In Saurashtra, people used to tell him, why don't you fight for elections? We'd love to vote for you. But then he was a government officer. And that was somebody I have a deep respect, a deep regard for. My father, who passed away in 1997. And then there was my mother. My father's anchor, my father's pillar, the value holder of the house. I have two elder sisters. And the first one, Shalini, she took after my father, the tough one in the family, the animal lover, the tree lover. And even today, if you go to her home, you'd find her house dotted with zillions of plants, and you try to pluck a leaf and you had it from her. I have another sister, and that's the other elder sister, Nina. She also took after my dad, but the spiritual, the intellectual part of my dad. And there I was, enjoying the warmth, love, relationships in my family, enjoying drifting aimlessly. I had nothing with me, just a young, youthful school life. And we were living in Junagadh, the abode of the Asiatic lion, right next to Gir Forest. And then one day, two amazing things happened. While we were in Junagadh, two brilliant, iconic things happened. The news came, the Prime Minister of the country is coming, and you all need to go and meet the Prime Minister in the Gir Forest. We packed up. I was just 4-year-old, and we went to Gir Forest, and there was a luncheon in the honor of the Prime Minister. A young 4-year-old finishes his lunch and goes around to where the ladies were having their lunch and wipes his hand off the sari of somebody he thought is his mom. But that was not his mom, and that was the Prime Minister. My mom was standing next to Indira Gandhi. So I was thinking, I'm wiping my hands off the saris of the Prime Minister. That day, this guy, absolutely drifting aimlessly, did something very bold, but he had no idea what he was doing. But the same day, something else also happened, very bold. And that was where my father was summoned. He was the head of the Gir Forest Sanctuary. He was told to show the Prime Minister around, and he was also asked to assist the Prime Minister as she signs off a large chunk of the forest, giving it up to the PWD for construction of a dam. My father was against the dam, but then that was the Prime Minister. So they go to the Gir Sanctuary. He pleads with the authorities. He pleads with the team of the Prime Minister and tells them, can I have a few minutes alone with the Prime Minister? A lot of back and forth happened. Ultimately, they relented. They said, you can sit with the Prime Minister. So he took the Prime Minister in his jeep, a driver, a guard. He took Indira Gandhi to a place which was going to be denotified. A large dam was to be constructed. He told Indira Gandhi, Madam, this is what you want to give up. This is the soul of the forest. This is where the ecosystem thrives. If you take this away, everything will be lost. Do you still want to make a dam here? She comes back, cancels the order, looks around, searches for lines across, and that was then. Two things happened. One, I wiped my hands off the sari of the Prime Minister, drifting. Second, my father, with vector, decided to change the game. The forest of wildlife are still thankful of what he did that day. That was vector. And then, life moved on. My father was offered to be awarded the Padma Shri. He declined. He said, well, I have been, a beneficiary of the government's largesse. I'm earning salary, can't take the award. Dad continued living his life the way he wanted to, absolute principled. From Junagadh, we came to Vadodara. I went to Navrachana, our school. And then I went to college, a happy-go-lucky chap. So anyone who studied in Navrachana is happy. Yeah. So went to college, enjoying my college life, met a girl. We were serving together, in a social organization teaching slum kids. I met her. Well, she's my wife today. We were having a good time. When I was in second year, our entire world came crashing down. Because by that time, I had only 4 things. I had beautiful 4 things, but I was still drifting. The 4 things I had were enough for the family to go around in terms of money. We had a lot of warm relationships. We had great health. I was jumping here and there. I had a lot of value present in the engagement. But then our world came crashing down when we came to Vadodara. The reason my father was diagnosed with a debilitating condition called motor neuron disease, or ALS. The motor functions of the body slowly start getting, compromised. You lose your voice, you lose your body functions. The prognosis was grim. Doctors said he's going to be lost in a matter of months or a matter of a year or 2. We were heartbroken. My life till that time was drift. This diagnosis got me a vector. I was always around my dad. He had retired by that time. But just before he went into a state of absolute disarray physically and was admitted to the hospital, he knew he is losing control of his body. One day, he beckons me to join him on the first floor of our home. He was unable to walk much. He had to take support. His voice has started slurring. But that day, he sat me down. He himself tied the laces of his shoes, attired smartly in trousers and smartly, crisply ironed shirts. He calls me up to the first floor and says, I need to give you something. That day, and from that day for the next 10 days, he sat me down and trained me in the art of, and that was 1994, he trained me in the art of public speaking. My guide arrived at that point of time. I had no idea what is public speaking. I did not want to do public speaking, but I was being trained in the skill and the art of public speaking. In 10 days, he made me create a manual on public speaking. I asked him, Dad, why this? Mujhe nahi chahiye. He said, do it, buddy. This may help you sometime. Father said, I did that. And then my guide kind of was drifting away. Later, in 1997, my father was almost on the last leg of his physical journey. We had brought him home. We had the ventilator at home. I had taken up a job in an organization which was into timeshares, holidays and leisures. And in the evening, I had joined the Center for Adult Education, MS University, to run and study in a course which is on hotel management. And I was boasting, as a couple of guys used to do then. I used to boast to my friends that I'm a trainer, I'm a speaker, I can coach. My director overheard that, called me once to her cabin and said, I heard that you can coach. I said, yes, ma'am, I can. She said, coming Monday, the university is starting this year's cohort of the personal effectiveness course, and the coach for the course is Professor Mario Xavier from the Faculty of Psychology and Education, a great guy, a terrific orator. Unfortunately, Mario is not available. Can you do the course? My legs were shivering. Replacing Mario as a student who had never done public speaking and just boasted around that I can do training, I said, yes, I can. Day 1, great nerves. And day 15, great confidence. That is where chance helped me get into this career. My father trained me in 1994. Chance got me into this career, started training blue collars, and went on to train CEOs and CXOs. 1997, I got married. And since I was a part of a hotel chain, I booked a 3-star hotel, couldn't afford much. I booked a 3-star hotel, went for a honeymoon in Goa. 6th of Feb, 1998. We were loitering around in the evening on the bay. Somebody comes, a handsome guy comes and says, sir, we have got an opening of a new hotel, a resort, a 5-star resort that's just come up. We'd love to invite you and your wife. A couple of couples would also be invited. Our general manager would like to host you for an evening. I didn't know that was a sales pitch. But then I'd never been to a 5-star hotel before. I said, yes, I'll come. We'll come. Next evening, a car was sent to our hotel. We go to this resort. We saw a hall full of young couples. And then after a while, a nice, tall, 6.5 feet tall gentleman comes in, a Brit, comes in, greets everyone, great voice, rich baritone, greets everyone, gets everyone to introduce themselves. And when it was my turn to introduce who I am and what I do, I said, this is what I am. His colors on the face changed. From a pleasant smile, it was a grimace. From a pleasant smile, it was absolute anger. He was in rage. He beckoned his team to come up and told them, throw these people out of our hotel because they are here to steal our trade secrets. I was thrown out of their hotel with my young bride. 45 minutes away from the city, no mobile phones, no GPS, no means to go back. I had nothing with me, but something snapped. That rage, that anger, it took over. That drift for a while gave way to vector. I decided, you have thrown me out of a property in my own country. Sometime in the times of tomorrow, I'll come to your country. I will tell you what leadership is all about. I will teach you communication. And I did that. I was the first Indian to be invited to become the Dean of London Creatives a couple of years back. And then that is where being challenged, the vector finds itself. So then I realized, in my life, what are the triggers? In everybody's life, what are the triggers? There are 3 triggers to find your vector. If you are drifting, if you do not have ikigai, if you don't have the purpose, there are 3 triggers that will get you your purpose. Either you get a guide, you have somebody to help you do that. My father was my guide. Or, Like it happened for me in class 11. I had to change school. I went to another school, and the class teacher said, we'd want somebody to become the monitor, the head boy of the school. I had been from Navrachana. I just stood up. Leadership qualities ingrained. I stood up, and everyone ridiculed me, laughed at me, looked at me. New boy, funny name, and our leader, ha ha ha. Himadri, Himadri. Funny name. They said, you can't be our monitor. I stuck around. I dug deep. Class 12, the same teacher, the same instruction. We'd want somebody to be the monitor. I kept sitting down. Everyone pointed at me. We want him to be the monitor. I worked hard for a year. I worked hard like a black bamboo's roots work hard. They dig deep into the soil for 5 years before the shoot can come up. I spread my roots wide as a giant sequoia in California that stands 300 feet above ground, and the roots are just about 5 or 6 feet deep. They're clutching the roots of the trees in the neighborhood. The second thing that can get you your drift, from drift to your vector, is being challenged. Or third, in 2009, this is what happened with me. I was speaking in a forum in Vapi, in South Gujarat. I collapsed, I fell down, I was taken to the hospital, an MRI was conducted, doctor said, it is a slip disc, L5S1, 60% disc has slipped into the canal, you can't go back home. I was in Vapi for 2 whole months, my business was suffering, I had no one to handle my training clients. My wife steps in, who had never spoken to a large audience of corporates, she steps in, and the lady who could not speak much steps in, salvages my business, and today, recently, she was honored as India's #1 posh coach in Delhi. And that is serendipity. And that is serendipity. So my question to everyone is, if you would want to find your vector, just check your 5 accomplishments. Write down any 5 accomplishments of yours. And besides the accomplishments, classify that what was the trigger. What was the trigger behind each accomplishment? Was it somebody, a guru, who guided you? Was it a challenge that spurred you on? Or was it serendipity? Was it a chance that helped you reach there? And before I sign off, I'd like to tell you that the forgotten fifth is nowhere out. The forgotten fifth is within each of us. It is you. You matter. I leave with a few lines which my father had written in his own handwriting. He was a great Sanskrit scholar as well. And this is from the Atharva Ved. These are self-assertion statements which say, Ayutoham. You can read that in Hindi, the meaning on the right side. Ayutoham, ayutto me atma, ayuttam me chakshuhu, ayuttam me shrotraha, ayutto me prano, ayutto me apano, ayutto me vyano, ayuttoham sarva. I am all powerful. And you are all powerful. The forgotten fifth is all about finding who you are deep within. Thank you so much.